He's doing
on the air.
Yeah.
We're on.
So we're going to go ahead and get started then. We're going to call the meeting to order since it is 6 p.m. We do need a motion to adopt the agenda, and we do have an addendum I draw your attention to.
So moved to adopt with the addendum.
Second?
Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda with the addendum. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.0, approval of minutes, February 21st meeting.
So moved to approve.
Second.
Move to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants. Questions or issues this month?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and warrants as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those bills and warrants. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5.0, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations. Is anyone that would like to address the board? No one? Okay, move on to 6.0, report the superintendent of schools.
All right, so we've been busy since our last board meeting. We've had, let's see, the girls went to state basketball, and we found out that we did receive a sportsmanship award. So that was nice. Just got that notification today. So that was good. A couple other things that we have learned just in the last couple weeks is that we received challenge awards at Garfield. So a challenge award is given when your state assessment scores are better than predicted or average, better than the state based on all your at-risk factors. So that was very exciting news. That group was very excited for that. And we also found out, I mean, it's been like a week, so really good news. We had our accreditation visit, about a month ago, and we shared all of that information with you. And all of that went before the ARC, which is the accreditation, there's all those acronyms, committee, accreditation review committee from across the state, and we have been recommended for full accreditation and approval, which is great. So that will go before the State Board of Education in April. So those were three things that weren't on my list, but that were really good news. Something to celebrate. So we've also done a lot of moving around with the maintenance and the custodial department. We've kind of restructured some things maintenance-wise. For years and years and years, there have been a lot of things maintenance-wise that have been deferred just simply because of the expense. We haven't had the resources in which to do a lot of the projects that needed to be done. And with ESSER, all of a sudden there was a huge influx of money. And so then there were all of these projects that needed to be completed. And I think we're at about a dozen. Tim has the list. And what we have found is that having one person manage all of the personnel and take care of all of the custodial things, maintenance, and make sure that all the subcontractors and all of those projects are getting done, it was really too much to put on one person's plate. So we've kind of split those responsibilities out. And so Eric Bortz, who's been with us for a year and was a maintenance director for about 6 years in a district prior to being here, is the new maintenance director. And so he's handling the day-to-day maintenance, fields, custodial type things and ordering. And that is allowing Tim to move into that ESSER manager role and work on the projects. And he's got a list of projects. He sent it to you last week so that you could see all of those things. I know today the majority of his day was spent looking at boilers with glycol, and then on a roof, and then in an HVAC meeting. And so it's good to have split that up so that everything can get covered. So we've done that in the last just week or so, which has been busy. And we're getting ready for those 5 board meetings at each of the schools. And so that, not this week, because we just got back from spring break, so let's get our feet, back on the ground and under. And we start next Wednesday, the 29th, and that's at Guthridge. Then the next week we'll go to Garfield, and then we'll go to Lincoln, and then the high school and the middle school. So those dates are all there. That's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't suspect that those will last very long, but you can get those on your calendar. The other thing coming up just next Monday is, which is not on my list either, preschool and kindergarten roundup. It's already time, that's such a fun time at Lincoln. So that Monday evening from 4:30 until 6 o'clock, there'll be tours and people will sign up. It kind of sounds like, oh, well, we enroll for kindergarten. Well, you sign up so that we can send you something to enroll for kindergarten. Okay, so they have to come more than once, but that's a fun little time. There's always snacks and books and lots of laughter. And then there's always some little kid that doesn't want to go home that cries. it's a fun night. So that's coming up next week. April the 7th, we have Easter recess, and so the district office is closed. April the 10th, that day school is not in session for students, but that is a staff professional development day, and that day is going to be spent talking about staff health and wellness. So we have someone who's coming from ESDAC, which is another education service center, to talk about staff mental health and, recovery and relaxation and all of those type of things in the morning. And then that afternoon, then we have lunch. And I got lunch right this time, I think, more than one food truck. And so we've got Dr. Somebody's barbecue. He's coming to do barbecue for everyone that day, and you're more than welcome to join us for lunch that day. And then that afternoon, our elementaries are going to do, classroom management boot camp type thing, which our middle school and high school folks have done with Jim Dillon from Greenbush. And then there's all kinds of transition things for the middle school and high school. So that'll be a good full day. And then the 17th will be our next regular board meeting here. Okay.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Item 7.0, the facilities project update. So, Mr. Bowman, if you want to participate in that, you're probably the right one.
He is the man, he is. Yep, he's got the hot
For
seat.
now.
I think all of you got my letter.
Oh, man, it's hot now.
Just an update on what's been done is, I pretty much put it in a timeline. So that's, pretty much from start to finish is what it's coming down to. The middle school boilers are installed. All 5 of them are up and running. We got the circulation pumps running. And the trouble is when we started removing the glycol in the system, it's supposed to be clear. And it looks like chocolate milk. They're going to test it tomorrow, and they think it may have something growing inside of some kind of microorganism, and we can put a chemical in it to help kill it out. And if that doesn't work, we may have to drain the system again, and then because it has to have a 30% glycol to water, like 1 to 2, excuse me. They said there's a thing called a sock filter system, which we don't have, which can, you put this chemical in it to kill out the algae or whatever is causing the blackness. And then it has filters on it that'll filter the glycol to keep out the impurities, and then maybe not have to do this in the future. The drawback is the sock filter system is around $4,000. And if we have to drain the glycol clear out, it's 9 barrels of glycol, which is 30% of the is $10,000. So hopefully, when they test it and they find out what's in it, all we'll have to do is add the chemical, kill it out, and it'll clear it up. But we may go ahead, I'm talking to Lori about maybe going ahead and putting this sock filter system on to keep this from happening in the future, to keep the glycol from turning into chocolate milk. So.
And so it's been good that he's been able to be kind of right there with them as they're doing it, because he's been saying for about 3 weeks now, why does it look like that? It should not, look like that. So we're hoping that it'll be
Because when we started the program, started the project, it was like we weren't going to, at the time, we weren't going to replace the glycol pump, which we did, because it quit working like 2 days before we started setting the system down. So luckily we got that done, because we would have had to get something to replace it. And as far as the glycol being changed, until we started pumping it out of the system, we really didn't know what it looked like, because it doesn't circulate clear through. This glycol pump just has the new stuff in it. It pumps it into the system. And so when we started taking it out of the system, that's when we found out it was black again. I guess 7 years ago, they had changed the glycol back then, and then 7 years it changed back again. So something else there's something growing in it. They're going to use a refractometer and see what is inside, what's causing it. And hopefully that's what it is. Hopefully it's just a organism that they can kill out or whatever. They said it could be iron, I'm not a chemist, but I hope it's,
Yeah, and we're hoping that we can take that additional cost, because it was unexpected and tied directly to the boilers, and use ESSER money in which to pay for that, because we wouldn't even be in this situation if we didn't, need the new boilers to do it all to begin with, so. But that's one of those things where it's a change order that has to be approved, so. But there's that, and then we've got Windows.
Windows Peerless started in June of 2022. Well, before that, actually, they got, Garfield was done, Guthridge was done, and Lincoln has been done. Garfield, he just finished, Tanner finally finished all the inside trim at Garfield, so now Garfield is done. We still have windows at the high school, the district office, the auto shop, 29th Street. They're all in storage, and some of them are outside, but there's no place it took 8 people and sometimes 6 people just to carry some of these windows. So we was trying to put them where they can be, we'll have to pick them up 6 times, so to speak, hurt people. I mean, they're just heavy, so, but that's what we got left on the window situation. Access controls, I know you've all heard the key card system. All the controls are in. Of course, there's 2 sets of doors at the middle school on the back side, on the north side, that we'll have to replace the doors, because the way the system is designed, it doesn't have enough pressure to open the doors, the locks, because the doors are so tight and the framework is loose. So unfortunately, they might have to change the framework too, besides the doors.
Right, and so we've left the keyless entries there.
Yeah, they're still.
But right now, until we move to, we'll have to talk about that, because instead of just a $10,000 door replacement, it's the entire, casing, or is that what that's called?
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's the whole thing. It makes it about a $30,000 project per set. So I told him, we're just gonna wait, stop. There still is one key card over on the west.
The library, media center entrance.
Yeah, on the west side that people could
It doesn't
use.
work,
Once we switch out those keys, but that'll be a process. Middle school and high school, they don't have the key cards yet because of the doors. We're still waiting on a set of doors at the high school.
The VOTEC here, the CTE building, everybody changes. But this set here, again, it's the tightness of the doors that won't let them use the keyless system or the key card system. They've tried everything, so these doors will have to possibly be replaced. And then the troublesome doors between the cafeteria and the annex, that's another set that they're 20-year-old doors. Some of these are from 1999. This was original equipment doors that were put in. Same with the middle school. But all the key cards are in. But we just have to get them online so we can get the whole system right. The
And
grade schools have been
That's
fine,
worked fine,
so,
yeah. And they're all programmed, so I have a card that when I go to Garfield, I just hold it up to the thing and it dings me in. And then it keeps track of when I'm there, what time, who uses that card, so.
It's going to be a real good system
Safety
for
feature.
security. We'll know who comes in, who can't. They can take your card out if you quit or whatever, it no longer works. Somebody loses a card, that card can be taken out of the system, so they can't come back in, or somebody loses, So it's going to be a good system all in all.
So do the elementary teachers have the cards yet?
Yes.
Yes, they all do.
Yeah,
All
just
the
the elementaries
elementaries
for now. Boilers, HVAC troubles, okay. Got the blinds installed, got the soccer netting going, reuse building, okay. This was something that luckily they could get on and start back in November of last year. They started with the ductwork, they got the ductwork in, got it all insulated and stuff. Had to put a new gas line in, but it's up and running, it's all completed now. Of course, it was going to be a jungle gym, so we put a fence around it to keep the kids off of it, because they can, break into because it's just sitting on the ground, so we did that. It's working great, but I told Spencer, the guy with the Elite Automation, they're putting the thermostats in, which I'll get to, that he can go ahead and put one in there. Speaking of thermostats, we have a new design of a thermostat, which is, when it's all said and done, we can get on a computer and see, okay, Garfield Schoolroom 25, if it's running fine or not, because right now, the only thing we can see on computer is the middle school. When all this is said and done and everything's done, we'll be able to see every school in the district on a computer. If that unit's on, if it's off, if it's not working, if it is. And so far, Garfield has the thermostats in, and Guthrie's has their thermostats. He just did those over spring break. But right now, they're just on an occupied setting, which means it comes on at like 6 in the morning, and then it goes off at like 4:30, and then it has a default system. And we can play with that, as far as the settings on it. Because right now, it's got a 60-degree temperature. It's like a 68 for a low and a 72 for high. And we can change that whichever direction as we get into it, how the teachers want, Because if they get hot, say it's 68, or they get hot and it's like 72, they can just touch it and it'll go down 1 degree up to 6 degrees. And if they're cold, they can turn it up from 68 to 70 or 71. And it must be working pretty good because everybody's been hot, and at least the heater, they're working, so that's a good thing. And that's pretty much CDL they were the ones pulling the wires for the thermostats, and they're all done now, so. Spencer Kubel, who's doing the thermostats, sent me a letter today. Let's talk to him on the phone, and he kind of updated me on what they're on the thermostats as far. They've got Garfield and Guthrie's done. He said they plan to complete Lincoln within 2 weeks. They plan to begin work at high school within 2 to 3 weeks, and they're on track to get all of it done before summer. So it doesn't take them long. Two guys did Guthrie's in 2 days, but they got other things, other places, and he said they'd be back within next 2 weeks, probably next week even. And they've been doing it during school, but they're not bothering the classrooms. And they work into the evening, so they're not, interfering with that kind of thing.
We've got the big HVAC project this summer is at the middle school. It's going to be to replace all of those units. And in the process of doing that, they have to replace all of that curbing, which means they're also going to have to redo the roof because it was time to redo the roof. So those are
VAV boxes in the room.
Right.
Because it's got a hot deck and a cold deck side. And what it does, if it needs to cool the room, it'll open the cold side. If it needs to warm the room, it'll open the hot side. They're only in the middle school because of that system, the way it's designed. And Spencer is saying that they're having little issues with trying to get them to read the new thermostats, because that school will be the only one with a certain type of thermostat. Same are all Honeywell thermostats, but they got to be a little bit different because of the VAV boxes.
So this summer, beginning May the 26th, that Friday of that next week after school gets out, no one will be allowed in the middle school. So their custodial staff will move over with maintenance and do some things. Their offices are going to move to the D wing at the high school. That's where we're going to have summer school for middle school, is at the high school as well in the D wing, just simply because of the big cranes they have to use. These things are the size of railroad cars, I guess.
Units,
And so the crane's going to have to be pretty big. So, and for safety purposes, everyone has to be out. So we're hoping that all of that will be done and wrapped up so we can get back in the building the beginning of August. But those are 2 more big projects that are happening. There are a lot of projects. Every time we turn around, it feels like there's, another project, which is good.
And I will be right beside them, making sure that
Getting some
they
stuff
do
done.
this. I'll report to you all what I find out, what I'm told. So I'm gonna make sure they do it right.
Yep.
So That's what I'm,
And we met today about more HVAC at the high school, because there is some ESSER money left. We don't want to leave any of that on the table. However, there's a portion of that ESSER won't pay for. And so then we have to look at our capital outlay and say, okay, because we've used quite a bit of it. And so then we've got to kind of see what we might be able to work in. But it looks like hopefully we'll be able to, in the next week or so, get you some information, bring some things, and look at adding some HVAC at the high school, just replacing it, because we're having a lot of heat, what are they called? Heat exchangers?
yeah.
Heat exchangers every time we take it
They're
out. But we have
20
units that are 20 years old,
2006 units that were put in 2008, but,
so.
oh, and I guess on here too, the intercom system is all completed except for a few minor, but they did get all the outside speakers.
So if you drive by and see a big white, ugly looking.
It's like a honeycomb,
Yeah, looks like something from a space thing.
but at least you can understand
You
it.
can.
Where's it at?
They're outside the building, so if you drive by Garfield, there's one.
Oh,
Those are
okay,
just their outdoor speakers. They're not really very
Attractive.
attractive, but they do work, and you can understand what
Hopefully.
someone says, which is really nice. It's not garbled.
And hopefully they don't become a magnet for BB guns and whatnot. So.
Things like that. I don't think so, but they are. Okay, just the regular things. We've got work camp, that Paint Parsons is coming up this summer, redoing the gym floors, all of those things. So you have any questions for Tim? I just kind of want to give you an
If you want
update.
to call me,
Where's that roofing company out of?
Ray Roofing, the one that's got the bid, you mean? They're out of Wichita.
And what kind of material did it, I mean,
It's going to
is
be
it all
the,
flat roof?
yeah, well, it's got a natural kind of a slope,
Okay.
but it's going to be the TPO roofing like we've done here, the white plastic or rubber, or whatever it is.
So do they have to take any air conditioning units off to?
Yeah, they're going to do, in the meeting we had the Ray Roofing, we had Design Mechanical who's doing the units. We had the engineer there, which was great because we found out some things we didn't have to do, which was so much easier. And then we had the crane people, we had the curbing people, everybody was there. And it was, we opened up some holes to look in and see what the substructure would look like. But what they're planning on is they're going to set 3 sets with the crane and do like that third of the building, set the crane over here, do this part of the building, and then set it over here and do those units. So as far as they're going to take one off, they're going to have the other units right there, take it off, put the other one right, fix the curbing, put the other one right there. But they're going to do it in sections. That
So
way,
are those newer units, HVAC units?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're still going to even if we went back with Aon, which is what's there now, they still would have had to redesign some of the curbing. And there's it's literally this far off the ground, some of them are, just where the unit sits on that. So they're as tall as the ceiling. We have to have ladders to get in the top. But anyway, some of that curbing that's there now will go away. So they won't be 15 feet in the air, so that's going to be nice, so.
So with the old roofing, were there any leaks?
Not really.
Okay.
For an old building, we was lucky.
That's what I
There
thought.
is some window issues.
There was some leaks in
the
between those
community
2
room.
special ed rooms and on
Yeah.
the 3rd floor.
But some of that was where
Yeah.
the vents and stuff were.
Some
I'm
vent
assuming
leaks.
there's a warranty on this roof
Mhm.
with the big price that we're paying for? How long?
I don't know.
It's like a 10 years or something like that. I
Could be 50.
I have to dig on that again, but they've
15,
been.
20.
Ray Roofing has done, they did this, they did the auto shop building. And, yeah, they have not,
They do good
if they
work.
have trouble, they come right back and fix it.
But yes, everything
But
else.
knock on wood, these TPO roofs have been a godsend. Whoever designed them, you wouldn't think so, but hardly anybody is doing asbestos, or not bad, is doing the old gray asphalt roofing, and nobody's doing that anymore. It's all TPO pretty much. And it's, like we have issues at the high school now that will have to be addressed. The auditorium area is leaking, and that's an asphalt roof, so. But as far as the TPO, we've had 2 different companies put the TPO in, this white roofing and we have nut. That's the best thing I say. Whoever designed it, thank you, because it's solved a lot of issues.
Any further questions? We appreciate your time tonight and your
Thank you.
expertise. Thank you.
Phone call away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to 8.0, action to accept donations to schools.
All right, that is on page 40 of your packet. So here we go. All right, so at the district office, there was a donation, Kite Coats for Kids Memorial, valued at $15. The Education Foundation gave mini grants, and so the recipients for 22-23, the Lincoln kindergarten teachers, $900 for scholastic books for all kindergarten students 5 times a year. At Lincoln, Tiffany Hicks, first grade, 5 classroom timers and a box literacy set valued at $450.70. Guthridge grades K-5 special education, Shandy Kepley, classroom sensory improvements for students with emotional upsets, valued at $650. There were STEM bins that were donated to Elizabeth Smith, 6th grade at the middle school, $300. At the middle school, also Joe Campmeyer, 8th grade, received a Raspberry Pi computer coding kits. Half of that cost was paid by the Education Foundation at $1,494.35, and the other half of the cost was funded by the LaForge family, $1,494.35. Middle school Kim Bartelli received art supplies for her English language arts, $191.34. High school special education Emilio Aida whiteboard tables and seating, $827.80. At the high school, Paul Deroni in 12th grade asked for Pasco's physics starter lab stations, $460. So there was $6,783.54 from the district office for the month of February. Lincoln Elementary had a donation from Parsons Walmart Valentine's Day supplies for classrooms, $250. That was their total of donations for this month. Garfield Elementary, Bethany Smith made a restricted donation of $50 for clothing. That was the total for their month. There were none at Guthridge. At the middle school, Domino's made an unrestricted donation of $450, so that was the total there for the month. At the high school, Debbie Phillips made a donation to Honor Flight for $50. Stephen Miller IRA Trust, PHS Honor Flight, $1,000. Parsons Grade School PTO to the soccer program, $50. Ohio Pile Prints for the Positive Reinforcement Program, $12.97. Reading for Education Positive Reinforcement Program, $18. There was an anonymous donation to the football program for $500. Bowen Pharmacy made a $200 donation to the TSA program. Betty Blueball, the State Farm agent, made a $100 donation to the TSA program. Wave Wireless made a $150 donation to the TSA program. There was an anonymous donation to Skills USA for $60, an anonymous donation to the Gardening Club for $12.45, and Curious Minds Discovery Zone made a $300 donation to the FCCLA program at the high school, totaling $2,453.42 for high school donations. That brings the total donations for February 2023 to the district, $9,986.96. As always, our community and folks are very generous. I recommend that you approve those donations.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve those donations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 8.1, action to approve the insurance vendor for Chromebook repairs. Mr. McGuire.
That was a big one.
Hello. Have this graph near the back of your packet. I believe it should be sideways on there.
Page 41.
Okay. Like with anything in technology, nothing is easy or, as easy as it seems. When getting quotes, I did have to delay another month. So I know we talked about me coming back last month, but I'm here now. Seems like most of the companies boil down to basically 3. There's a lot of kind of third-party vendors that then they just quote rates from these 3 different companies. So I just went to them directly. If you look at the total cost with the insurance only, that's the totals. The caveat on that is the Guthridge Chromebooks, which have the 2 asterisks on there. So this will probably be the last time we'll be buying Chromebooks from that company, because we live and we learn from, what happens to us. They basically, ASUS does not make spare parts for their Chromebooks. And they've discontinued the model, so whatever models are out there is what the parts are out there. So the other 2 major companies just kind of threw in a bid, and when I talked to the vendor 1, they approached me with that knowledge. I then went back to vendor 2 and 3, and they didn't really give me very satisfactory answers on that, to whether coverage outside of screens would actually be possible for a 1 or 2 year period. So that portion is still up in the air for the Guthridge Chromebooks. The one nice thing about our 3 Chromebook locations is that's the smallest breakage area currently. The middle school is definitely first, and the high school is a close second. So worst case scenarios, we buy a bunch of spare ones and we, again, repair them ourselves for another 2 years. Best case scenario, we can get some kind of something worked out with a company that whoever we end up going with, where we can do like a parts library type of thing where we kind of buy the parts and they store them for us, and then they'll also repair for us. So I'm kind of in negotiations with company 1 to try to get a quote on that. It takes quite a long time apparently, whenever there's so many Chromebook models out there. So getting actionable insurance rates for a very specific model is kind of a roller coaster ride. So, but we are getting there. Full disclosure, vendor 1 is who we have through the eMints program. So we've dealt with them for 2 years, white glove service, and we've had very little issues with that service. They also, on the 2 that they provided quotes for, they were the lowest bid as well. And under the additional info, they actually include cases and screen protectors, which at the very least are about a $10,000 or maybe $15,000, like for free. So, I mean, that's kind of hard to argue with. But I know, I believe Mr. Ray approached me last time about kind of having that red, green, yellow system. It's all kind of stair steps. So if we can move on with the insurance, and then my next topic is the policy, and then once that's all in place, I could come back and then we could do a general overview. Because if we don't do the insurance, I may have to actually switch models earlier than 2 years from now. So that's kind of where we're sitting. I'm here if there's any questions on anything. I'm not comfortable with, if we go with vendor 2 or 3, or actually getting the Guthridge insurance. They haven't provided me enough information that they'll actually cover it, so. They provided me a number amount, but whether I'm not satisfied to their explanation to me on how they get parts and that sort of thing.
Okay, so my question then is, if you're uncomfortable with those amounts and whether they can perform, on vendor 1, we don't even have an amount, and so that's a pending number you're getting from them?
Yeah, and that's what I talked about with the parts library, something like that, per repair. I'm in negotiations with that.
Okay, so how can we take action if we still have uncertainties on all 3 vendors then?
The action, they are separate quotes for each model, so the action I'm suggesting is to not do the Guthridge Chromebook part at all.
Right, no, I
and we could do just the 2 that are actually comparable, so.
And so your recommendation would be vendor number 1?
Yes, for high school and middle school Chromebooks.
Okay.
And again, those are the bulk of our repairs. That's where the bulk of our time spent. That's where the bulk of the savings is going to be as well. And if we have to survive with the Guthridge ones, we'll make it work.
Okay, so let's start with that insurance then. Other questions from Mr. McGuire on that insurance aspect?
the crew that you have working with you, the people are good at
Yes.
Correct.
And again, we're mainly doing this because it actually saves us money. And the saving time is the added bonus on top of that. So,
Do you have a date did they give you a date of when they'll give you the amount for Guthridge? Like the amount you're still waiting for?
no, I've been working on it for a month and a half,
Okay.
so I can only work at the speed of.
Whoever's replying
Because I
to
have
you. Yeah.
the salesman talks to the techs, they come back, we talk with the company, ASUS is out of China, you wait 3 weeks for them to call back. So, I mean,
So you'll be coming later with a quote for Guthrie.
For Guthridge.
that is the hope. If not, then I'm buying parts and we're doing it, so. But I have to move on with, I want to get, this is the first step, I got to get going so I can plan, and I don't want to do this last minute and then all of a sudden, oh, we don't have anything, and, here's all this money I need for this and that and the other thing, so I don't like doing that to the district, so.
I move that we go with vendor one.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded to go with vendor one for the high school Chromebook and middle school Chromebook insurance coverage repair quote. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8.2, action on policy change for the one-to-one device repair cost then.
Thank you very much on that. So I've included here, the first page is, and it's highlighted in color, so I'm sure I could have thrown it in color with your packet, but that's my fault for not doing that. But it's mostly 99% of the changes are syntax changes because we don't have a technology fee anymore. The board voted on that. And we changed Guthridge from iPads to Chromebooks. And also 6th grade leaves their devices at school. So every change until you reach a dollar amount is all that verbiage. That's all it is.
And the only thing that's changed in all of this policy is what's highlighted,
Correct.
right? And so it's the same policy.
The second page is policy as written right now, just if you wanted to flip and compare. And the main change is the going from $75 a repair down to $45. Again, when we talked a few months ago, when I discussed that, that's what I used as my amount when comparing prices, and is insurance going to be cheaper, and that's, again, it's, the kids that break them will pay for the kids that don't break them. So, and it ends up saving everybody money, including families. So instead of $75 a repair, it's $45 a repair. Because that's roughly what the insurance costs us per Chromebook, so.
Is that on the back page, you have a $75 repair cost?
So you have
Is that different?
So you
The
have a
first
copy
page-
of, let's tear these babies
Yeah.
apart.
So the
this is
first
the
page
old
with green on it is suggested changes. This is policy as written, page 2.
So that, I was confused looking at that.
Yep.
Wait a minute, this is the same. Okay. So,
And also there's that what is one-to-one, that would be the third page to this one. No changes have been made to that, so. We included that whenever we first changed to one-to-one. There's no harm in keeping it on there with the enrollment packet, I think, so we just left it alone. Kind of explains, hey,
it's not too different.
every child gets a device, that sort of thing. So really what I'm asking for is approval on these changes, and the main thing is the dollar amount. And if you want to go with a different dollar amount, then that's up to you. That's the one I came up with. It's basically a kind of a more of a break-even point with insurance and the breakage that we see. So just know if you go lower than that, then you may have to provide my department with more money to, cover the cost of the insurance and stuff like that, so.
Well, hold up. I guess I'm confused. What's the insurance for that we just voted on?
We're paying, since the Chromebooks are the school district's property, we're buying insurance for them. So if you charge them $0 for repair, then the school district is eating the full cost on that, which we have not done in the past. We've done a parts or $75 per instance, whichever is cheaper. And with screens are the main things that break. They're usually about $120, $130. So it's been $75 consistently. So the $45 is what we charge to repair if we have the insurance. So that price has gone down, but that cost against the parent and the student will help cover the school district's cost for the insurance we're paying for those. If that makes sense.
So it's $30 less for the child if they break it. Like, this is better, because before you were unhappy about the $75 fee. Now, the most it could be is $45.
Okay, I guess the insurance policy I read from Fairfield, Connecticut was $0 that the kids had to pay.
Fairfield, Connecticut's a pretty rich town. I mean, it's very
Okay,
wealthy.
I don't want to argue, I'm just telling you
No,
what I
but-
know.
Yeah. And if the board goes with $0, that's fine. Just note that these
Okay.
insurance quotes, that's what you'll have to provide my department funding.
I went through this once before, I don't want to go through it again.
Any further questions?
I think the 45 is great. I think it's nice to see a $30 drop.
Yeah, assuming 45 covers it.
Well, 45. Will it still be 45 or parts, whichever is cheaper?
They're never cheaper than 45.
Okay. So they'll just be paying 45.
I
just to
mean,
be a
keyboards,
cushion to
50.
you.
So the $75 a couple, maybe, I don't know, maybe a handful have been under $75, a very small amount. It's almost always screens. Or, motherboard parts or the full case exploding, so.
Make a motion to approve the policy change, including the $45 fee.
Second.
Moved and seconded to modify the one-to-one device repair cost policy as presented by Mr. McGuire. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
Okay. Let the record reflect one nay. Motion carries. 8.3, okay, we're done with you, Mr. McGuire.
Yep,
Moving
thank
on
you.
to
And again, I
other
can
things.
come back and give an overview with the color coded system.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
8.3, action on jobs for America's Graduates
Okay.
Partnership
And
Agreement.
so this is our partnership agreement. It's formal that makes sure we keep that multi-year school-to-work program at our high school. So the cost to the district is $11,220, which is not an increase from last year. So I would recommend that you approve that. It's a good program.
Mr. Pound's still doing it.
Yes, he is.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve that JAG Partnership Agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.4, action on the out-of-state band orchestra field trip.
Okay, so this is a trip our high school, middle school music has taken for a number of years. My daughter, she's in graduate school now, went when she was in 6th grade. It's something they do. They've done a lot of years. Some years they perform and some years they don't. Some years it's all 3 groups. This year it is the band and the orchestra group that are going to go. It's about 39 kids. They aren't going to perform. It is $55 per kid, and the students raised that money and paid that money. So the only thing, they're just simply requesting that they take a bus, which we've provided every year. But since, according to policy, you do have to have approval for out-of-state trips, and it is to Branson. So they're looking forward to it. So I would recommend that you approve that trip up to Silver Dollar City.
Move to approve the trip to Branson.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve that out-of-state band orchestra field trip. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8.5, action on the 23-24 student and athletic accident insurance renewal.
All right, and this is on page 49 and page 50 in your packet. This is the same group that we've had for a number of years because the district carries 2 different insurance policies that cover student accidents. The way it works, well, the first is, number one is the cost did not increase from last year, which is just really was surprising to me. But the way it works is if the student is involved in an accident, for example, when Matt Ray was in school and it seemed like he was always twisting his leg or doing something, we would take him in and our insurance, our primary insurance, parents' primary insurance pays first. And then after your primary insurance pays, then this first agency will step in and they'll pay 70% of the deductible costs for the parents. So they don't pay for the whole thing. They don't cover all, but they do cover a big portion of it, which is very, very helpful.
What if the
If the
primary
parent
parent doesn't have insurance?
then typically it isn't anything that first agency would have to have picked up because they're covered by Medicaid or Medicaid. So there's that policy. There's also the catastrophic accident policy, and that's based on the number of students that you have, and what it would pay if there were a more serious accident, and that policy fee is $621.90. That didn't increase either. So the first policy is $25,686, and that's the one that picks up after your primary insurance is paid, and then $621 for that catastrophic policy. So both of those are, we never want to use the catastrophic, but it's important that we have it. And the other is used quite extensively by parents. So I would recommend you approve both of those.
Question, I think I know the answer. The catastrophic does not include those students involved in high school activities, right, or middle school activities?
It doesn't? I thought it did.
No.
There was, no?
Okay. Because
Do you think it does?
Well, I don't know, because the High School Activity Association also bills you for a catastrophic policy, $25,000 and up.
I know I was involved with one that was taken by helicopter in a football accident, and it did cover.
And it did cover, I don't know, Tanya may be out there. She might know. Is Tanya out there? Yeah, she's looking it up right now. I think maybe it's in addition to the Keisha.
So we actually have, for those students in middle school and high school
We have
who are
3.
involved in activities, they have a double catastrophic coverage.
Maybe possibly. But for $621.90,
Right.
yeah, it's negligible, but maybe I really don't know. What did she say? Oh, she'll check into it. We'll write that note down and find
That's all
out.
right.
So,
It's worth it.
it is.
Summer camp coverage, too.
Summer, yeah, that's
That's,
all those things. It would take one broken leg and it would,
Yeah.
or something really bad.
Move to approve.
second?
Moved and seconded to approve that student and athletic accident insurance renewal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to 8.6, executive session. Estimate on your time.
15, 20, 15?
The board members have anything they'd like to discuss in executive
Okay,
session?
maybe.
So,
I think 20.
Need 30 minutes? Oh, my gosh.
anything? Okay. We'll start off with 20 minutes then. Need a motion in that regard.
I move, we go on to, what do we call this, executive session
There you go.
for 20 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception or coma, the exception for employer-employer negotiations under coma, and the exception related to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma at 6:49 for 20 minutes, and we'll return back to here at 7:09 in an open meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, so we're in executive session for 20 minutes. negotiations letter with PNEA.
So this is the typical letter that we exchange each year with those items as discussed.
Make a motion.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve the negotiations letter with the PNEA. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. 8.8, action on personnel.
Okay, so we have some resignations from employment. Theron English, middle school evening custodian, effective March the 1st, 2023. Ivory Kelly, middle school assistant football coach, effective March the 8th, 2023. Mary Norris, second grade teacher, effective the end of the 22-23 school year. We had one other resignation from employment on 8.8. Jordan Murphy, Garfield custodian, effective March the 30th, 2023. I recommend you approve those resignations.
So moved.
I second it.
Moved and seconded to approve those resignations from employment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
All right, and so moving on, recommendations for employment. Brooklyn Chase, Garfield aide, effective February 27th, 2023. Terrell Johnson, high school part-time evening custodian, effective March the 2nd, 2023. Emilio Aita, middle school head football coach for the 23-24 season. Richard Holsinger, middle school assistant football coach, 23-24 season. And Kyle Hostetter, middle school assistant football coach, the 23-24 season. I recommend that you approve those folks for employment.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those recommendations for employment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries.
All right, we have some transfers of employment, and here they are. Eric Bortz, Maintenance Director, effective March the 15th, 2023. Tim Bowman, Capital Projects Facilitator, effective March the 15th, 2023. Jordan Murphy, which we had moved her to the Garfield custodian, effective March the 20th of 23, but she'll just be here for 10 days with us. And Bert Smith, high school head custodian, effective March the 20th, 23. I recommend you approve those transfers.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those transfers for employment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. No further business. We are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.
All right.
She's loved every